Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I'm Cody. He is Andy. We are the Tech Talk crew coming to you live on the 20th of August, about 1:45 Central Time.
What is it in Eastern, though? Like, that's not where you are.
2:45.
2:45 Eastern Standard. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's
During the last bit of summer here.
I was just about to say, we are enjoying the last bit of summer, and I got to think that, like, when does Michigan State football start up here for you?
Well, college football starts this Saturday. Okay. NFL starts, I think, in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we're rolling. It doesn't feel like fall. I think that this weekend is supposed to be 87, 88 here. So we got a little bit more summer to go before the cold weather gets here.
A little bit more summer to go. Michigan State can win the national championship this year?
I mean, I don't think so, but there's always a possibility.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
I'll tell you what, fall's right around the corner. I'm excited about a Frito pie. You ever had a Frito pie?
I have before. Really good.
Frito pie. Well, chili, cheese, and a bag of Fritos.
We call them walking tacos, but
walking tacos, Frito pie, walking tacos, whatever you want to do. And then, like, the sky's the limit, by the way, with it. I mean, you could add all kinds of stuff in there.
We throw in some cheese, some butter, maybe sprinkle in some Nonfat on top.
All right, that's a nice bridging there to like what we're going to talk about today. That's well played. We are going to talk about cheese, butter, and Nonfat. We've got a nice little episode of just spot all day. How's that sound?
All day.
I would love to see you sprinkle cheese for sure. Butter, I can get on board with. Are you really going to be sprinkling some non-fat dry milk on your
honestly,
Frito?
You can sprinkle protein. Well, I guess that'd be whey, right? So that doesn't work. Never mind.
Well,
you
could still do it. Like, you could have like your tote bag that you're like of non-fat, and you're just like sprinkle it on there. Let's go.
At these prices, I don't know if I can afford to do it.
At these prices, so let's talk about cheese first. The main ingredient of that Frito pie. At least I think it's the main ingredient. I like a lot of cheese in it.
It is. Look at that.
This is rocking. So we talked about the bull flag.
Yep.
Took a little bit longer to play out than I think you and I had anticipated, but
yep.
It certainly played out. And the measurement, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is basically you take this where it broke out from, add it on to where it broke out from. I would say more like here.
There.
But that takes you to about 240 cheese. More or less.
So at the top of 2022 market.
So let's go take a little peek ski back there. That price, look at that right there. That's basically hovering right up in there. Depending on where you want to have this thing, where you say it really broke out from. You can make the argument it broke out from this high of this candle right here, which would take you directly to where this price point was if you took the measurement from where it broke out to this high. Either way, it suggests that there's still more strength in the spot market. Futures have been kind of reluctant here.
Yes.
I should say reluctant. I mean, we've been moving higher for sure, but it doesn't feel like we've just, grinded or gone straight up. We've had, like today, I think after cash, we traded down to like 20 lower up front, 20, 25 lower. I mean, it felt weak, but then, the buying came back in and took the market back up. But it definitely feels like a stiff breeze could blow futures over right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, just to your point, like even after settlement today, we just kind of rocketed this thing right before we started here. 21 higher, 27 higher in October, new high right there. Yeah. This thing I don't know. There just seems to be no end in sight.
Well, what's interesting to me about this is that so we talk about it a lot here, right? Where you get the breakout here, but what does the next candle do? And in this case, it doesn't open higher necessarily, but you're getting an open where you're starting to see some trade, and it didn't open lower. You didn't see like a candle like this, right? Where if you this looks like it's breaking out and then bam, right? And maybe that still happens, but you're just not seeing that type of activity. You're seeing some volume change hands here. You're seeing futures respond with strength over time. It's been choppy, obviously, but it's still moving higher. And this feels like it's got a nice strong move here. It built a very big base,
right,
and broke out from that price. What's interesting about this too was that not only have we cleared this price here, I think it's going to be super interesting whether or not we can get a settlement above that price this week. We cleared it. Now can we maintain that clearing of it, so to speak?
Above 218, 215?
Yeah. So let's just hang on. So let's go back to that real fast. Right here. So that's 203, right? So right here, we like anytime we got up to this 203, the market just didn't like it. In this case, it really didn't like it. But here it just kind of like it felt like anytime we got close to $2, the market would break, or at least start to like show signs of weakness.
Yeah.
And I think you could even throw in this number here too. Like this is a big area, I think. So between 203 and 213, we've cleared what appear to be some pretty big technical levels. Can we get another close above those prices? Either way, I think you got to be really mindful of this being kind of the next area of potential resistance.
I agree.
And yeah, futures up front, SEP 22.5, it's basically trading current cash. Talk to Joe Schmidt, bases loaded, learn more about that.
Check them out.
But yeah, I mean, futures, they've seen their fair share of just kind of like really, I guess, choppy trade. But in the end, no, I think about like yesterday's close too. We were kind of putting around 5-10 higher for the most part. And then throughout the afternoon after cash, we just kept incrementally moving itself higher and then closed into new contract highs for some of these contracts. It feels supportive, to say the least. I don't know. I say that now.
Well, as I said, the block is also sitting at 210 even, which we were at yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't really moved the block. This is the barrel that's been incrementally kind of working its way up to what are we at, 226.5 right now. Yeah. That's been the one that's kind of leading the charge so far. If you get that block moving to 212, 215, wouldn't you think this really starts to perpetuate itself higher? Because I think people are going to see that we're going to start quoting 2023 quite often. I was looking back. This is the first time that in a full week we've settled above $2 cheese since going back to 2023.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're kind of, I don't want to say uncharted territory, but we're in places that we haven't been in a while.
Agreed.
So I just, like I said, I think the thing to be most mindful of is we had the breakout last week. It closed on the high last week. We seem to be at least maintaining that breakout. Can we move higher this week and settle, even if it's only like 1 or 2 cents? Right. I don't think it has to be much. I just think it has to prove that the breakout, has been able to be like, call it warranted and hold. Can that breakout hold? So yeah. I think that's going to be very telling. But yeah, no, I mean, if you want to just go by the measurement and if you believe this is a bull flag, you just take basically where it broke out from, lay it on top of where it broke out again. It takes you basically right back to all this stuff. Hang on. Do a little circle for you. Bam. There it is.
240 cheese.
240 cheese. What does 240 cheese do for cost or dairy?
Does quite a bit. I mean, you can't argue with 240 cheese. You got whey. What do you think? Whey, call it 50. Use the bottom of 51 cents just to be. It's good. That class 3 price is going to look really good if we get up to 240 cheese for that kind of dry whey that prints. If it prints NDPSR.
Okay, fair enough. And do you feel like that? I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but do you feel like that's going to allow you guys to buy more animals despite what's going on and produce more milk?
I've talked to a lot of producers about this. I don't see there being a lot of necessarily buying going forward or adding animals, adding barns. I think that folks are going to, number one, animals are expensive, right? We talked about it internally in our chat. We've had heifers that are now trading $4,000 for the past 2 weeks here in the Midwest specifically. I think what you're going to see is you're going to have some more of these dairies that if they have extra animals, they're going to sell them for the cash flow. Or if you have a dairy that you are looking maybe in the past to get rid of, that you don't necessarily want a dairy anymore, that maybe it's time for retirement, this is going to be the time to do it. Prices are high, milk price, animals are expensive. The people that do want to expand and move are going to end up paying up for those. Now is going to be the time to sell those animals.
Right. It's an interesting time, to say the least. We've talked about it before, but to me, I think that argument at least kind of holds to the idea that spot at currently can be somewhat at least supportive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's a great chart. Like I said, this feels like a bull flag that's getting the price action that you'd like to see out of that type of formation, which would be, in this case, breaking out. Does it hold? If it does, I think it's got the potential to go to 240. Let's go.
Let's go.
On the other side of the coin, in terms of class 4, in this case, how about this butter? I mean, my gosh. This thing, what's super interesting about this market is that it closed this gap and traded sideways with it for some time. And then all of a sudden, it cleared this price last week and is at the very least maintaining clearing that price. Yeah, we're a little bit lower, but we're not back down below 310.
No.
Let's just kind of expand this so you guys can see it a little bit. Well, hang on. There we go. I think that makes it a little bit easier. So let's get rid of this line for a second and go right here. So what I find to be most interesting about spot butter here is, again, you filled this gap. And normally when you fill a gap, it's a sign of almost like the market is kind of done, so to speak. Like that unfinished business has been taken care of. And a lot of times people look at gaps and say we're going to reverse from that price. But what I find to be really interesting here is that we cleared this price level here, which is like 316, and we did it on a ton of volume. How much volume traded last week? I mean, we had that one day where it was like 51 loads.
51 loads. We had 103 for the total week last week.
Okay, so let's do that math real fast. So 103. Let's say the average price. I'm just going to make this up. Average price was, I don't know, what do you want to use? 317.
I think 317 to 318.
Okay, so let's use 317 times, let's say 42,000 pounds. I think I'm doing that math right. 317. Okay, so if you use 42,000 pounds a load, that's a spend of like $13.7 million.
In 1 week.
In 1 week.
Yeah.
On a lot of butter, like at basically the high of the year.
Right.
And so I think it's critical for the butter market this week, especially that you had this breakout into new highs late last week, right? You did it on huge volume and like a huge dollar spend too, right? I don't care who you are, spending $13.5 million. That's a lot of dough. And so then now you've got this market that's like, it didn't just immediately reverse that on like, unfilled offers, taking the market down, buyers got what they needed, paid up, you have a blow off top, and we walk the thing that down like a dime or something back close to $3. You're just not seeing that price action.
Right.
You're starting to see more trade. And the breakout, in the very least, even at 317, down a little bit here today, this week, it's still above where it broke out from.
Well, and John Spainhauer and I just got done with the GDT podcast, and I think we're going to get to it a second here on the other side of Class 4. But butter and whole milk powder, specifically on GDT, both very strong today. I mean, good closes, good rallies from the last auction we had 2 weeks ago, leaning into our prices, I think following along with where the rest of the world is trading at.
Yeah. I think it feels like there's something going on here in the Class 4 space.
I can't look at anything on this, what you have here for butter, and say that there's anything that just screams bearish. Now, we're only on Tuesday afternoon, I understand that, but there's nothing so far that says, okay, the run in butter is done. Correct. That we've had a good time, right? It just doesn't happen.
Totally agree. I think if we were going to reverse last week's price action, I think we would have reversed more of it by now.
I agree.
And I think you wouldn't see much trade. Like we already, I think, how many loads did we trade today?
Yep, we had 10 loads. 10 loads of butter today.
10 loads of butter trading today. We traded 6 on Monday. So 16 loads. It's not 100 plus, but it's still, you're getting some trade into new highs.
And the trades in butter today were all between 317 and then 319. So you got a 2-cent window there that we traded those 10 loads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this to me feels like, again, you had that big week last week on a ton of volume, closed into new highs for the year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, closed into new highs for the year, and didn't get an immediate follow through from the sell side of saying like, well, hey, if you want more, we've got it and then some, and we'll walk this price back down on you.
Right.
It's not the case.
Right.
So to me, this feels strong. I think this week is just like what we saw in cheese last week. You had the big breakout, and are we going to get basically follow through from the buyers this week? It seems like we are in both markets right now, given the price action. You already said it though. This one I think is a big sleeper.
Yeah. It feels like it. We just broke above 125, broke out from 125. We've been there since February?
Mm-hmm.
February of last year. Again, hate to keep going back to it. A lot of 2023 numbers are kind of getting blown past right now where we sit.
I'm trying to do this here. Second time's a charm. There we go. So again, I always think about markets like big market moves in like 3 phases. You have the move itself, a period of consolidation, and some form of retracement of that move. So I think we've experienced 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
The market went from basically 190 to what is this low? 110 and some change?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so we had this big move, and then we had a significant period of consolidation, right? I mean, this market has basically sat still more or less since, May of 2023, by the way.
Right.
So we kind of bumped up to 125 and never could get back down to 110. And like you just had this is consolidation for sure. But now we're back at this 128 and some change. Hey, that's above a price we haven't seen since, you got to go back to the beginning of January of 2023.
Right.
to go back to see a price that was higher than where we are now. I think this looks good. I think you have a nice long-term higher low relative to where, this market started to really, like, I guess, like saw its quote, quote bottom for now, right? This feels like a higher low. And I think I had this retracement piece up here, this Fibonacci. I think we're going to go do at least a 38% retracement, which would take us to call this 137, 138. I think I think this market's got 140 written all over it. I think between the higher low, what we're starting to see in terms of strong closes on a week-to-week basis, right? You had this close, and then now we'll see how this week plays out, right? But if we just settle here or higher, again, you've cleared a lot of price action. You're above this double top, aren't you?
Again, I'm trying to look at it to poke holes into your theory here, and I can't honestly argue what you're saying there.
Yeah. Anybody that was selling, like, you think about the psychology of it, like any selling that took place for the last, I know it's, I'm sure it's all bought and paid for, and it's hard to, over this long of a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But like selling, I always think about like any selling that took place all over here is more or less like gone. Like you're underwater now, aren't you? So that's just where my head's at. I think Nonfat's got a little bit of a run to it, and like I said, I think about it in phases of 3. I think this market had its big move. It's experienced its level of consolidation, and I think the next phase of this is to retrace a good chunk of this big move. And I think the fundamentals are there. I don't know if Coster Dairy is going to make any more milk at $22 or $24. Who knows? But
I don't know if anyone will. I'm just looking back at what we've had the past week and a half trading non-fat here. Once we get going, we got above that $1.20 mark. We started, clipping ourselves like 2 cents higher per day, not just, really grinding. Not to say that we were 12 cents higher by any means in one particular day, but we have just gone from $1.20 to $1.28. I mean, real quick here.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick.
It's kind of reminiscent too, and I know this certainly isn't apples to apples. But what this reminds me of is a long-term chart of corn.
Yeah.
Big break, consolidated. Yeah. This more than retraced the move.
Right.
Right. But I think, we're kind of we're like here, right? Where you had this big break. We've clearly built a bottom, or built like at least support. Mm-hmm. Have consolidated for a significant amount of time and are now starting to see trade above all this consolidation.
And when it starts to go, it goes.
It goes. I think it starts to leave them like this is non-fat on a monthly basis.
Sure.
This looks good.
Yeah. Another higher low right there.
Yeah. Right here.
Yep.
And so we still have another 10 days for this month?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
So if we're here or basically here or higher, we will have cleared all this trade, and you don't see a higher. Yeah, I mean, just this is a little bit more. It illustrates it a little bit better, but you have to go back to the tail end of 2022 to see this close higher on a monthly basis. This looks strong. This looks like it wants to go back in the middle of all this stuff.
In the middle, as in, you said 140 earlier, so okay.
And look at that. I don't know. Can you call that a gapper right there? That's just open. So that opens 132 and a quarter. This close 133 and a half. There is a small little gap right there on a weekly, or excuse me, on a monthly. I don't want to hang my head on that kind of stuff. Like that's I don't know if it's a pretty small gap, but to me, I think the bigger piece is this higher low.
Yeah.
And now you've cleared all this trade.
Yeah. Can't say that any of these 3 charts we've looked at today are pointing towards a bearish turn anytime soon.
Who knows? Got a lot of stuff coming up here this year too. It's an election year, so a lot can happen. But I think the charts, at least technically, feel strong, or at least supportive at the very least, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think it'd be fun is if one of these episodes it was kind of like you in the kitchen cooking like a Frito pie or something like that. Like what's that show? Like Great British Baking Show, but on like Great British like Tech Talk, where like Cody makes a frittata or something like that, and like Frito pie. I think we got to give the audience what they want. I think you got to give the people what they want. You like with like your one pot and like fork.
Yeah, dude, that's great football food right there.
We could go to 240. You could get your tattoo that you keep talking about. This will propel us to like 1 million subscribers. Your frittata recipe.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a good year. I'm excited. It's a great year.
All right.
All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Tech Talk. We had nobody that called in or wanted to see any charts this week. I think everyone kind of got busy with end of summer, kids going back to school. Probably forgot about us for a week. But now the kids are back in school. You got all the time in the world to watch Tech Talk. Shoot us a couple charts you want to look at. We will be back next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel to look at those charts.
Schools are starting up, man. It's a busy end of the summer. I had 4 birthday parties to go to over the weekend, this past weekend.
Yeah, you got school starting here pretty soon too.
Tomorrow.
Let's
go.
Crazy. It seems like everyone just got done.
Get your pencil case. My kids got a sweet lunchbox.
Nostalgia, man.
I'm bringing back the Trapper Keepers. Let's go.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a great week and even better weekend. Talk to you soon.